Now joining us, Massachusetts Congressman Seth Moulton. So, Congressman, it's always good to see you. I'm sorry about these circumstances. I want your reaction to how this fatal shooting unfolded. I'm sure you've seen these two videos. What are you seeing and what are you thinking as a result of it? Oh, your audio is well up, sir. One more time. Yeah. Yep. Got you now.
Sorry about that. What I'm seeing is a group of federal officials who are not only murderers or executioners. That'll be the debate. You know, was this a murder or was it an execution? I'm also seeing federal law enforcement officials who are absolute pathetic cowards. And let me be clear, I say that as a U.S. Marine veteran, someone who's been in combat, who's seen a lot worse than this. And these guys are cowards. It turns out these folks are Customs and Border Patrol. We've seen it from ICE officials as well. There's multiple officers trying to wrestle this guy to the ground. He is lawfully carrying a weapon. They disarm him, and then they shoot him in cold blood. This is the kind of stuff that you see in movies from Iran, from North Korea, from the Nazis in Germany. This is Gestapo-type stuff happening in the streets of America, and it's got to stop. And let me tell you one other thing. The other cowards in this equation here, the other cowards are the Republicans who continue to enable this president and Secretary of Homeland Security. Tom Emmer represents Minnesota. He's the third-ranking official on the Republican side in the House of Representatives. Where is he? Where is he today? He seems to be more interested in defending this president and Secretary of Homeland Security than the American citizen shot dead in Minnesota.
Congressman, let's get to what you have written on X, and it reads, we cannot provide more resources to ICE or CBP. None of this is acceptable. So what exactly can you and your colleagues in Congress do to try to counteract this extreme escalation from federal agents, and not just in Minneapolis?
Well, listen, a lot of people don't even know where Democrats stand on immigration, but let me be clear where I stand. The number one thing is that these federal officials need to be prosecuted when they break the law. Yes, I've voted to defund. I voted against funding for ICE just this past week. I voted against the entire appropriations bill for the Department of Homeland Security because of exactly this stuff going on in our streets. But that's not enough. You can't enforce the law if you think you're above it. And just like American citizens can be prosecuted, these federal law enforcement officials need to be prosecuted. I think that should be the clear-eyed determination of every Democrat. And frankly, any Republican with a shred of moral credibility right now in America. I have introduced the NOME Act to simply allow federal officials to be held accountable to the law in the same way that local law enforcement officials are held accountable, because right now they're not. If they violate your civil rights, local law enforcement will be held accountable, will be sued, but not federal officials. I've introduced the Healthcare Reinvestment Act that shifts the 3x increase in funding for ICE in the One Big Beautiful Bill to healthcare for American families, because even Marjorie Taylor Greene admits that under the One Big Beautiful Bill and President Trump, her own family cannot afford healthcare. That's a choice that American representatives in Congress should make. We should have a vote on this legislation that I've introduced, because it's common sense legislation that, frankly, Democrats and Republicans across America should support. Those are the things that Congress should be doing right now.
And if you look at this shooting, again, just a couple of weeks after the fatal shooting of Renee Good, I'm curious how you see this escalation, what it indicates to you. And since we know there are ICE agents in Maine, we've been reporting that the last couple of days, are your constituents concerned ICE agents could head to Massachusetts, your state, next?
You caught me in Lowell, Massachusetts, a fantastic immigrant city. But everywhere I go, whether it's in cities like Lowell or Lawrence, where I've been today, or even the well-to-do suburbs of Boston, people are scared. People are really scared, and they're scared for good reason. And I would love to be on your show telling everybody it's going to be okay. Don't worry. This terror will not be coming home to you. But I can't say that, because it is the explicit intent of this administration from Trump on down to terrorize blue cities across America. It is unlawful. It is shredding our Constitution. It is weaponization of our federal law enforcement for political aims. He is politicizing everything. It's the most partisanship I've ever seen in Washington. And it's happening under Donald Trump. It's happening under Kristi Noem. And it's happening under the acquiescence of these utter cowards I serve with in Congress, who in private will tell you that this is wrong. It's pathetic. I was on Fox News just after the last shooting, when Renee Good, a mother of three, a young American mother of three, was gunned down in the street in doing something that any American citizen has the constitutional right to do. And after that Fox News interview, one of my Republican colleagues caught me and he said, wow, you really handed it to him. You're right, because that shooting was wrong. He said, I've been in law enforcement for a long time and that shooting was wrong. And then the next thing he said was, of course, I can't say that. What do you mean you can't say that? Stop being a coward. You're sent to Washington to represent the American people, to stand up for our Constitution, to stand up for our rights, to stand up for American citizens who are getting gunned down in our streets. We need a lot more political courage in Washington. And it needs to start with these Republicans who refuse to hold this administration accountable for breaking the law.
Congressman, one more question here, and it's based on what the president actually posted on Truth Social today, a very, very long read. But the part I want to ask you about, he writes, the mayor and the governor are inciting insurrection. He's using the word insurrection. Governor J.B. Pritzker was on earlier. He believes that the president is using that terminology and looking at all of this as an excuse to invoke the Insurrection Act in this country. Do you think that's possible? Do you agree?
It's absolutely unlawful, but this administration clearly does not care about following the law. I mean, we've been worried for a long time about all the details of the law that they break, the constitutional provisions on elections and things like that, sometimes esoteric things that not every American understands. Now they're violating basic laws like you do not murder someone. You do not murder American citizens. So they don't care about any laws. And absolutely, I think it's the intent to invoke the Insurrection Act. Now, my guess is that this is not coming so much from our senile president, but from Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller, the modern incarnation of the Gestapo right here in America, a racist full and through, who is using Donald Trump, this increasingly senile president, for his aims of white domination. That's clearly what's going on here. So there are a lot of people manipulating this president behind the scenes. And trust me, I'm not defending Trump here. He's part and parcel with it. But the point is that when we see the president go off the rails, as he so often does with these long senile tweets, there's even more insidiousness behind it. This administration is the most morally and financially corrupt administration in American history. And it matters. It matters because Americans are dying. Americans are getting killed today in our streets.
I will just leave this with the comment Stephen Miller posted saying that 37-year-old Alex Pretty, we have identified him as an ICU nurse, the man that was killed shortly after 9 a.m. local time. And we have Stephen Miller, who, according to the Associated Press, called him a domestic terrorist who tried to assassinate federal law enforcement. To your point, Congressman.
No, Stephen Miller is a domestic terrorist. That's who the domestic terrorist is at the top of this government.
Congressman Seth Moulton of Massachusetts, our friend, thank you so much, sir, for your time.